Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you're watching the Sci-Fi Center.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
I have returned to Saturday night after a long absence because of the move and all the other chaos and still pending chaos. Had to take some Saturdays, most of these last couple months Saturdays off, but hey, we're back. Welcome to Saturday, the Sci-Fi Center presents Saturday Overnight Live show. It is brought to you by one of the subjects of tonight, which is Amazing Comic Con, which is happening here this month, the 29th, 30th, and 31st at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. Guests like Scott Snyder, Tom King, a whole bunch of other ones will be there. We interviewed this guy today, and that's what we're going to open up this show with. Also, if you guys have been watching the show for a while, you know that Hot 702 radio station that used to be next door to me, a lot of times she shouts out our streams on our show, and we end up getting a lot of viewers. She just opened up a place called Revive. She's another one of our sponsors tonight. Tea, mocktails, and tapas lounge. I hope I'm saying that right. Oh, and we have a fancy smancy art gallery, a space for those who can slow down, be present, and I'm sorry, I'm coughing. Slow down, be present, and sip tea. If you're unable to do those three things today, please visit us when you have a bit more time. We look forward to being present with you very soon. So, yeah, she's got a little lounge that she opened up. She moved out of her plaza maybe about a year ago, and in the area where she has her radio station, she now has that. So, if you are in the Southern Nevada area, go visit Ecrease over there at Revive Lounge. All right. We do not have a co-host currently because he's watching what I consider to be an absolute waste of time. And Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey. I'd rather be picking up cans and watch that. But hey, he's the MMA guy. He's the combat sports guy, so I'll let him do his thing. I hope we are on Twitter tonight because last night was all screwed up. Was not able to get it fixed, but it looks like we are green on all levels. Before I get into this interview, it's about a 15-minute long interview, but really excited about this convention. Tonight's topics are going to be the interview with Jimmy J from Amazing Las Vegas Comic Con. We're going to talk Marvel's latest fiasco with this Midnight Marvel thing that they're doing. It looks cool, but I don't trust Marvel, and I'll get into that. We are going to be covering some of the comics that came out. Here's Absolute Batman number 20. I did a spoiler-free review a few weeks back, and now I'm going to do a full-on review. And if you are not currently reading Absolute Green Lantern, I think you should be. I know the pace is not what the rest of the Absolute universe is. It's a different type of story, but it's a very important story. and I'm going to get into some of the reasons why you guys should be watching that. Also, we will commemorate the 16th year of the passing of Black Sabbath's greatest lead singer, and that's Ronnie James Dio, who left us 16 years ago, May 15, 2010, all too young. So, but going to go ahead and say hi to some of you guys, and then we're going to, this interview was pre-recorded because they're ramping up things for the convention, getting things done, so we had to fit it in. So I usually do live interviews and stuff when we can, but when I can't, I upload them and we do it that way. There's Duck. How are you doing? And the Kangaroo. Oh, the fight's over already? Okay, there you go. Maybe we'll have our co-host armbar first move. Hey, at least you only paid the $9 for Netflix for it. Is the bar back open here again? No, that bar is not going to be open until the county figures out what they're going to do with this. I don't see that bar opening back up inside of 2 years, unless something the development speeds up. I wish it would though. All right, no. Order for me to fix something, I have to care about it. I don't care about those two women whatsoever. Oh, why is this? What is wrong with? Hold on. What is going on here? Wow, StreamYard the screen is too small. They've changed this to where I got the itty bitty screen now, and I can't see. Plus, the UFC TKO are unbelievable trash to announce the return of Conor McGregor today of all days. That shows the UFC is afraid of an MVP or in any real competition. No, well, I mean, they got to use that spotlight. I mean, Conor McGregor is really the only UFC person I even know anymore. Wilma, I'm going to go out on a limb and mean you meant William. Disney said their recent investors meeting that they want to diversify, move more to oriented Marvel and Star Wars projects. I can go along with it with Star Wars. When you say that, Rational, adult oriented doesn't mean R rated. You can do until I see them do this. I will refuse to believe that Marvel is going to break up that piggy bank that has made them money when they don't need to. You can go adult oriented and be PG-13. It just means that an adult can take their kid to it if they need to, and an adult can let their kids go to it without having to shepherd them to the movies. If that is a money-making formula that I don't see them breaking. Could I be wrong? Sure. I am not. Neither one of us are inside that office, but I don't think adult-oriented means what you necessarily think it means. Like we were discussing last night on Junkie, and when we discussed this before, you don't need an R-rated Blade Runner movie for it to be successful. You need a Blade Runner movie that fits into the MCU and keeps it accessible as the rest of the MCU is. TVMA, once again, TVMA is now, dude. You guys are ahead of me. They're down there. Are they telling me that? Okay, so that was her last match, I guess. Cool. I mean, I don't care. TVMA can still translate over, depending on what you do, to PG-13. There's a lot of TVMA stuff on TV. Now, if we're talking TVMA on like HBO Max or something like that, that's a different TVMA. So it all depends on what you're doing. I still, until I see it, I highly doubt we're going to venture into the territory of R-rated when it comes to MCU movies. How you doing, Dan, man? All right, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this started. This afternoon, I got a chance to interview Jimmy J, who's the organizer. Oh, that's upside down. The organizer of the Amazing Las Vegas Comic Con. I will be there. I will be there covering. Got my VIP pass. I will be there covering this convention. Lately, the last 5 years or so, I have made it a point to get to conventions. I always, if you are listening to me, no matter where you're at, Alaska, Jupiter, Kansas, doesn't matter. If you get a chance to get to a convention, get to it. By all means, go be amongst your people. It reframes this entire conversation that we're always having at Geeks, and you're going to have a better conversation because you're with your people face to face, and it just builds you up for the rest of the year. I have gone to this one before. My Stanley picture that I showed you guys the other day. That's where I got that from. These guys put on a hell of a show, and this year they have. It's just not a local convention. I wouldn't just be putting on the show. It's one of the bigger ones now in the Southwest. We got guys like Scott Snyder, who literally is paying bills for me here, and for a lot of us geeks and comic book store owners, it's a big pivotal point. We have a movie coming out next month. We are at the doorstep of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Tom King is going to be here in Vegas for that convention. We have Stephen Grant. We were just talking Punisher. Stephen Grant was one of the guys who helped develop Punisher into the kind of character he would be, along with Frank Miller, Carl Potts, Klaus Janson, and Larry Hama. So I am going to go ahead and play this interview. Make sure that we are. Here we go. A little bit of daylight there because we had to do it like I said, we had to do it when he was available. So, all right. So this is Jimmy J going to tell you all about the Las Vegas Comic Con. Like I said, it's not just a local convention. These are individuals that are going to be at Comic Con, that were at WonderCon, and these are the guys that are driving the industry today. So here we go. Hey guys, this is your favorite geek, William from the Sci-Fi Center Presents, and usually we do almost everything we do live, but I got a very special guest that I want to bring on. If you've been in the store or if you watched any of our social media, you know how hyped I am about May 29th, 30th, and 31st, the Amazing Las Vegas Comic Con. I've gone to this before. I'm really looking forward to it this year. I'm doing everything I can to make sure it grows and it continues to come here and get any bigger. But I have a guy who's probably going to be has been running around this and other towns like a chicken without his head cut off. So I wanted to go ahead and bring in the promoter and the organizer of this convention. And here is Jimmy J.
Hey, thanks for that intro, and thanks for letting me hang out with you on it's Saturday evening while we're recording this. We are less than 2 weeks away from the doors opening. Our event takes place at the Orleans, which is a brand new venue for our event. We've been at several different locations in our about 15 or so years in Las Vegas, and this is our first year at the Orleans. We're really excited to be there. We have a lineup that, if you're a comic fan, it doesn't get better than the lineup that we put together. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited just to be a part of the Las Vegas fan community. I mean, there's so many great stores. There's so many great organizations. I really dig what you've been doing and building at the Sci-Fi Center. The move to downstairs, the store that you have built is incredible. That and trying to the absolute line of comics is second to none. And I think that customers that have been familiar with you are really going to dig what we have in store for them at the Amazing Las Vegas Comic Con.
All right, now we're having because of where he's at, we're having some sound issues, so that's why I'm not talking over him because of the echo. But I'm going to go ahead and let him give you guys the lineup. Obviously, we know some big names are going to be there, but I don't want to leave anybody out. This is probably, in my opinion, the most loaded show that you guys have had since 2017. And by the way, this convention is always going to be special to me. If you've ever come into the center, either upstairs or downstairs location since 2017, you've been instantly greeted by this. This is what greets the people at the Sci-Fi Center when they come in. And this was when I got to meet Stan Lee, because like I told you that story, I came as an attendee, or I was coming as an attendee, and you guys needed a big hefty volunteers, and I answered the call, and this is who I got to bodyguard for a little bit. So this convention is always going to have a special spot in my heart. But I'm going to go ahead and let you give the rundown from priority all the way down, and I'm going to unmute you. There you go.
Well, you know what? I think where we've always tried to do is bring out the best of the best of comic guests. All right, so those are my boys are running around the house right now, but we've always tried to give the best of the best of comic books to comic book fans. We believe at Amazing Comic Conventions that the best in pop culture starts in comic books. So it really is heartbreaking as I see this trend where different conventions don't promote the comic book talent. And essentially, that's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we're gathering. To that extent, every year we always try to bring what's going on in pop culture and tie it directly into the comic books, into the comic creators. I mean, like in years past, I mean, like, you know, you've taken that great picture of Stan Lee, I mean, which is fantastic. But like when we've had like events going on like the Deadpool movie coming out. We ended up having a Deadpool screening, and we would bring Rob Liefeld out, the creator of Deadpool. When the Venom movie was coming out, we brought out Todd McFarlane, the creator of Venom. When the Infinity Saga was coming out, we were bringing out folks like Jim Starlin and George Perez. So again, what we look at is what's going on in greater pop culture. We want to bring it back down to comics. Now, in comics, there is not a bigger guest right now than the Absolute line. And so we have the architect of that, Scott Snyder. He is going to be here Saturday and Sunday, the 29th and 30th. We're so pumped because this is our very first time working with him. And we've worked with a virtual who's who of comic book talent over the years. You know, we mentioned, again, those big pop culture ties. Well, next month, the Supergirl movie comes out. So we extended a early invitation out to Mr. Tom King, who is the writer of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. He has direct ties, not just to the comic book, but to the movie itself. Also, it was announced that his Mr. Miracle run is going to be adapted for an animated series. You're going to know him from a great run on Batman Rebirth with the Bat-Cat proposal and wedding build-up. And of course, most recently, he did the Superman Spider-Man crossover book. So again, these are two great headlining names. Now, what we've tried to do is any championship team, we always try to put the best role players around those superstars. And the role players that we have would be headliners at most other events. We have Tyler Kirkham, best-selling cover artist. He's fantastic. Ariel Diaz. This is our first time working with Ariel Diaz. She is fantastic. She sent some absolute Wonder Woman covers and a bunch of work over at DC. We have a local legend, Stephen Grant. Now he's from Las Vegas, lives in Las Vegas, but he did the very first Punisher miniseries. And given that this last week there was the John Barenthal Punisher special was on streaming on Disney Plus, we thought it would be great to tie in a local favorite with what's going on in that pop culture space. And so Stephen Grant was in the mix. Another great local is Marat Michaels. He was the Image Comics very first rookie talent. He's done stuff like the Deadpool Corps over the years. He has done a lot of work with Youngblood and Rob Liefeld and Brigade. He has the new Brigade Blood Brothers coming out, and of course he has all those fun parody books with the Do You Poo. I mean, again, we are a loaded guest lineup. I mean, you can find everybody on our website. I'm going to mention a few other names just to show how broad the event is. Image Comics, we have Brian Haberlin. He was he created Witchblade over at Top Cow, was key in that lineup of Witchblade and excuse me, Witchblade in Darkness. But he also did things like he ran Spawn and Todd McFarlane Productions, writing and drawing that book. He has a Kickstarter out right now for Aria, which was a fun title that he came out with at Image Comics. He's going to be there. I mean, it really is loaded. We have a bunch of folks from Transformers, whether it's Livio Ramondelli, who's an artist for the comic series, and we've also teamed them up with some of the voice actors from Transformers One, Shockwave and Soundwave, which is a nice pairing as well. So this guest list goes on and on and on. And I can't believe I let this one slip, is Dan Quintana. If you are a fan of the Absolute line, his covers are blowing everybody away. He's coming out here. They're dropping some exclusive product with him and Berserker that is going to be fire. There's a lot of great exclusives coming out, a lot of fun books to get signed. I'm excited. This is an event that if I was a fan, I would be, popping down my money to attend it. If I was a retailer, I would be, saying, sign me up with a booth. And if, and the fun thing is that I'm both of those things. And that's why we're creating an event like this. So, yeah, I mean, I think on the website you will be digging. There will be probably another, another dozen or so names that you'll go, oh man, I have some books done by this guy. I have some Spawn books done by Carlo Barbieri. I have some Turtle books done by Chris Johnson. I have some. I mean, it's going to go on and on and on of the folks that we have. So we're really excited.
Now, I wanted to be here as a retailer, but this. So if you're watching this, you know what we've been doing the last 3 or 4 months as far as stabilizing a new location, and I just wasn't there yet. But I will be there as a fanboy, and we're going to be covering it for this channel. But yeah, I envy every retailer that's going to be there right now. But I am going to be there fully immersed into it. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, with all this work, how long from point zero to where you're at now, a few weeks away, does it take to put all this together? Is it a full calendar year's work?
Absolutely, a full calendar year's. It is absolutely a full calendar year's worth of work to build the show. And we're always working on it. We're always tinkering on it up until doors opening. We will be probably adding names, adding panels, the special events, things like that to look forward to. But also, William, I want to let you know there's zero shame in the game. Why I mentioned that as a retailer, we would do this show is because it's I believe in it on all levels. So that's where I'm coming from. Now, like, we've been exhibitors and retailers for my family business, which is the Amazing J Brothers. We've been in business for about 30, 35 years doing these conventions. So I always wanted to create a show that I would like to go as a fan and as a retailer and on every single level. So that's where that answer was coming from. Mm-hmm. But getting back to your question, how long does it take? I sat down at last year's Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. It took place at the Plaza. We had Ryan Otley came out and had a huge signing with Battle Beast and Invincible. I was talking to his representatives, and they told me, it's like flat out, they're like, we knew that you guys were big comic fans, and Las Vegas was a great comic community. But do you know that Ryan did better here than he did at Dallas and all these other fan expo shows last year? Did you believe that? And I said, oh, heck yeah, I can. I mean, again, it's like, that's why we have these big blockbuster guests. That's why we have guys like Rob Liefelder. We've had people like Stan Lee. We've had people like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and Kevin Eastman out to our shows, because those guys all know that they are going to be treated well here. The fan base is very appreciative, and we run a top-notch comic book show. Getting back to it, during that conversation, he said, ideally, what would you like to do, for the show? And we said Scott Snyder. Scott has been on my list of people that I've wanted to work with since we launched the Amazing Comic-Con brand. when we launched the Amazing Comic Con brand, the DC 52 was just coming out. So that gives you a perspective of how long that that I've been a fan of Scott Snyder. Predates that DC 52. And so he's always been on my list. So we had that conversation. And also I looked at the calendar and I said, hey, with Superman being such a big buzzy movie last year, and we were still a month away from that movie coming out. It was last June. The Superman movie came out in July. I said, well, I want to line up Tom King. He goes, well, it's kind of early for Tom King. And I said, no, not as far as I'm concerned. He's a guy that is going to get booked up, and I wanted to make sure that we had both Supergirl and Absolute Batman locked and loaded for the Las Vegas fan base.
Because that WonderCon, because we were both at WonderCon, you saw a WonderCon is medium size. You know, it's kind of like, you know, in the shadow of Comic-Con. But both Tom King and Scott Knight, because I was a fanboy in both of those lines, and they were the core attraction of those shows. And now you have them here, both of them here in Las Vegas. So, like I said, this lineup from top to bottom, I'd have to contend is probably your best one. I mean, I know the one I went to back in 2017, Stanley, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Eastman, but where the industry is right now, because we kind of, as a dealer, we kind of went through that point where comics, as far as the papers and staples and people picking them up, wasn't always top of mind. And with the Absolute Universe and the Ultimate line, rest in peace, and some of these things that they're doing recently have brought a lot of people back that kind of drifted away. So we're in a different spot in 2026 than we were in 2017. I think it's all starting to line up.
I agree with you. I think I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No,
I agree with you. You know, I think that here is right now we're experiencing a generation of fans that I'm seeing on a retail base that are walking in that their exposure to comic books was maybe they grew up and read Dogman 10 years ago when they were at Scholastic book fairs. You know, then they went to manga, you know, and then they, you know, discovered Invincible on Amazon Prime, where guys were getting, you know, punched in the face and their skulls were getting busted up and things like that. And they were like, oh my gosh, there's an American comic book like this. And then they came into comic book stores, and then they went and saw things like Absolute Batman. So I think that the industry runs in circles, in cycles, not circles as much as cycles. And right now, I think what is going on right now is people are discovering these lines of books. And that's why we wanted to showcase, you know, that talent. These pieces of talent that we're bringing in are people that we really believe in, and I think are definitely blazing new grounds in expanding a core audience. And that's what we want to do. We want to be even though that we're a comic book show, we want to appeal to the largest audience as possible. Because again, this is where the very secret origin of pop culture is, with these creators.
100%. Now, I am going to, we're pre-recording this, guys, so when you watch it tonight, in the description is going to be everything you need to get you to the doorsteps of the Orleans hotel, and all the guest lists, everything you wanted to know about this particular convention. That'll all be in the descriptions. And once again, I know, thank you for making time for me. I know putting on smaller events that I put on, just putting on a Rocky Horror Picture Show makes me want to pull what little hair I have out. So you putting on this on a different level. So thank you for affording me the time. And if there's anything else you want to put out, here is your last.
Well, I think that there's something for everybody there. So I mean, whether it is where you're the most hardcore comic book fan, and that's where we've been connecting. I mean, from our conversations this spring to hanging out at WonderCon to everything that we've done before this. But there really is something for everybody. I mean, whether you collect toys, whether that you play video games with Marvel Rivals, we have great Marvel Rivals guests. Whether you are into, costume, whether you're into people watching, there is going to be something absolutely for everyone there. We will be releasing a full panel list. So, you get, after doing a bit of shopping, maybe you've been standing in line. Sometimes you want to put up your feet, but we have some great programming for you guys to spend the weekend with. The show does take place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I do recommend for folks to show up there for more than one day. But if you could pop in there for an afternoon or an evening, that's great too. Kids are free, and I think that's what makes things a lot easier going to conventions. Now, I think earlier you may have heard my sons, running around, my place here. But I mean, this is a place that you can absolutely bring your kids. Kids 10 and under are free. And what's fun at the Orleans this year, and it definitely has those vibes of our early years when we just started our conventions, when we were doing shows at the South Point and things like that, is that parking is free. So it's easy to get in and out. It's easier to pop in and pop out of the show. There are a ton of places on site to eat. And if you want to take a break and, heck, if you want to see a movie in the afternoon, go for it and come on back down and check out more of the Comic-Con. You want to grab a coffee, go for it. You want to grab an ice cream, you know what? They have an ice cream parlor. So, I mean, I think this is what makes going to a show in Las Vegas unique compared to any other event, any other place. And it's not just because, hey, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Heck with that. I just think that there's so much available for all types of fans, all types of families. And I think the Orleans is proving to be a great partnership to be at for our 2026 show.
Perfect. I will be there. I hope you all are there. All the information is in the description. And once again, thanks, Jay, for coming on. And on keep getting my dates mixed up. It's right in front of me. May 29th, 30th, 31st. There you go. All right. All right. So, like I said, I am a huge believer in going to conventions, and this one is literally here. If there's ever a convention, at WrestleCon, I go. But the one thing I like about this particular convention is a lot of local conventions will get a guest. Their big risk is they'll get a guest. It'll be a big name guest or meet him, and that's great. Every year that these guys have been out here, they've taken huge risks and gotten like multiple big names. Right now, when it comes to comic books, you can't Quintana. That's a huge name right now. You see $150 minimum for one of his books, and then you get him. Then you can go get him signed. But the Absolute Universe with the sales it's generating, the only other person he could probably add would have been Hickman. But but for what we have now, these are a lot of risks being taken on a convention like this, a local convention. So I am really I got these flyers all over the store. I've been telling people we will be there covering this convention live. I'm going to see if I can talk to some artists, see if I can set some things up. Obviously, you saw me interview the main guy there, and then I also want to do something that I really wouldn't do at San Diego because I'm just a tourist there as well. I want to interview people who are coming to the convention. When I'm waiting in line with other fanboys, I'm going to just strike up a conversation and see if they're willing to come online. And since the thing that my co-host wasted his time on wasn't really that long, apparently.
Oh, just like the Clash of the Titans.
There's a Brad sighting.
Yeah.
Before I even got your message, it was over.
Well, I said it before the fight started, and then I guess you didn't see it until after the fight started because there was the last fight, and yeah, it was quick.
There you go. That is your official review of it.
For those of you that weren't watching Ronda 1.
Yeah, with an armbar, so exciting. I can't think of two.
No, man, that and she's notorious for that armbar. It's so yeah, it's like a. I mean, I love both these ladies. I'm happy to see them both make their even if it's not like a return to like full time fighting. As Ronda said, they wanted to rewrite their endings in the in professional MMA. They've done that, and now see where things take them from here. I said something to Aaron about like something that Ronda said at the press conference, like, "Hey, maybe we'll like make like a martial arts flick for Netflix after this fight."
God.
So, yes, please make that happen, Netflix. I can't wait.
I can't think of two combatants that I could care less about than these two women, but I'm glad that
yeah. Well, there was standing room only in that arena tonight, so.
Well, they're standing room only for people I've never even fucking heard of, so that's not a real determining factor whether it's going to interest me or not. All right, William, do you think something like Absolute Universe? Why? Okay, that's a key thing. Why do I think that the Absolute Universe took? This is a good question. Took this long to realize, or was it the perfect timing? You had a bunch of shitheads running Warner Brothers in DC, proper period, on all ends. It took somebody with the credibility of Scott Snyder's previous runs on things, and they were out of ideas. I think the timing is everything. They were out of ideas. How many times have we rebooted the universe and it to no avail? So here you got a guy with a proven track record coming and saying, not only do I not have to blow this up, I can add to it and augment it. And I think it was his talent, his pedigree, and the fact that they were flailing. They were flailing. If it wasn't Batman, it wasn't moving. So I think it's Dan, it's timing. It's timing and credibility. And somebody I think Jim Lee getting firmly in control, even though he's been there, he's been the main guy for quite a while, you can kind of see the evolution of when he first took on that position and what he's willing to let his people do now. It's a difference between a night and day. So in the short answer, Dan, would be timing. So all right, did Brad have a huge party and vegetarian and root beer? And for him and dogs?
Watching you hear my TV over there.
So yeah, you didn't get together with
it's
not like the days where you had to split up like $80 to watch these things. It's on Netflix, so
yeah, exactly.
You didn't have to break yourself.
It's the first live streamed MMA event on Netflix too. So, and by the way, it wasn't like what's the organization's name escapes me, but it wasn't UFC or Strikeforce.
It was some independent thing.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Oh well, hope that's over with. I don't know how much people paid to fucking see that, but hey. I mean,
those things aren't cheap to get
live fight. That's like when you go to a Tyson fight and people pay all that money and Mike goes in there and knocks a fool out in the first round. I'm like, wow, did you get your money's worth? But all right, so we'll get to some solemn news because I love Black Sabbath, but only when this man was at the helm. I have all the respect in the world for Ozzy Osbourne and what he meant to heavy metal, what they meant to heavy metal as a unit. But for me, when I was a kid, and I remember there was a substitute teacher that introduced me into Black Sabbath because he would play it, during our lunch breaks. If you weren't going anywhere, he had a vinyl in Heaven and Hell. I had heard Iron Man. I knew who Ozzy was, and I knew, growing up in LA, it's impossible to not know who certain people are. It's just no way. And Ozzy was, a lot of people arguably, and maybe rightfully so, consider Black Sabbath to be the creators of heavy metal. I think there's some arguments that can be made elsewhere, but they were definitely a big part of it. This was other than AC/DC, switching our lead singers in that era, and Bon Scott died. They didn't have, if they were going to continue, they had no choice. Ozzy, there was a breakup, there was a schism, and then Ronnie James Dio was brought in for the two best albums they did. And I'll stand on that hill and I'll fight any. The two best Sabbath albums out there are Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. And my favorite song is on Heaven and Hell. It's Children of the Sea. It's a different tempo. It's Tony Iommi is the guitar solo in there is just great. If I wouldn't get copyright struck, I'd lip sync to it coming into the show. That's how much and there was a lot of differences between them, and they hated each other because Ozzy said some pretty shitty things about Dio when he took over. And Ozzy's going on with Randy Rose. He's selling millions of albums, but nobody wants to be replaced. But it is what it is. So for a couple of years there, especially the early to mid '80s, they weren't on the type of terms that they would be on later in their lives. As a matter of fact, they were on tour with each other. When he was diagnosed with stomach cancer, they were on the Heaven and Hell tour. That I was going to save up money, donate blood plasma or sell blood plasma, whatever I needed to do, because I had never got to see him perform. And he died in 2010. His voice, his range, even outside of Black Sabbath with Rainbow, he just had one of those voices. I'm not going to necessarily put him on the level of Freddie Mercury, but he's in the category of a unique range that I don't think anyone else has. If you ever heard this man sing, you knew you were listening to one of one. And it's the same difference between David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar. With Ozzy, you were getting beat over the head with that music, and that's the way they wanted it. It was a war being fought. There were songs being written when it came down to with Dio. His voice and his range, I think, bought out Geezer's abilities and Tony. I think Tony Iommi became a better player with him at the helm. So yeah, we lost him he was 67 years old. He would be closing on 80. We lost him too soon. And all of a sudden, it was like, he was diagnosed, and it was like he was gone the next day. But May 16, 2010, dark day for music. But one thing about musicians is the music is still there. I still listen to Queen on a weekly basis. Freddie's never going anywhere, and neither is Ronnie James Dio. All right, so I'm back on Saturday nights. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff still going on. Just wild. I took for granted not how hard, but how what we put into this show until we weren't able to do it. And when it's not happening, other shit creeps in like that. I mean, we went from moving, free comic book day, sometimes just being overwhelmed with people coming through the store. Now we have EDC here, so it's going to be a little bit weird. We EDC, all those crazy people are out there dancing with the heat and the drugs. Have fun, all of you. Don't die. But so there was a little bit lull today. But next month we have another comic book movie coming out, and then a month after that, and all from now all the way till the end of the year, we have heavy hitting science fiction movies and stuff to talk about. We'll undoubtedly be promoting Supergirl, which I am looking forward to because it's based on a story that I think is one of the better stories written in the modern era when it comes to Supergirl. Spider-Man's going to do what Spider-Man does, and then we have Avengers, then we have Dune 3. Disclosure Day, that's another one that's flown under my radar because I just take Steven Spielberg for granted. He's just always been there doing this type of shit. So I was like, oh, a Steven Spielberg alien movie? I can remember one of the first things I ever saw on TV.
How many has he done? He's done, and then E.T.
Yeah.
Like, how is he on any other alien movies?
No, but he's done like the biggest ones ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, except for outside of Independence Day, I would, E.T. was like, this
was the biggest movie ever made for a while.
Yeah, the last time I ever cried at a movie theater was 6-year-old me when I thought E.T. was dead. And then they bring him back to life, and that was it. So that's that movie was big. Drew Barrymore.
If you think that Superman is portrayed as Space Jesus, go back and watch E.T. Like all the Jesus imagery.
And E.T. was on a marketing high until that fucking Atari game that just shut everything down. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere. For us it was Kresge or Kmart back in the day when the old man would let us shop off outside the base, which is almost never. But everywhere, I mean, you couldn't buy candy without E.T. being there. You couldn't buy soda without E.T. being there. You couldn't buy drawers without E.T. E.T. was on the underwear. The E.T. toys, the wind-up toys, the phones, they had little toy E.T. E.T. phone home was the big deal. Reese's Pieces, because I forgot what other company turned it down, bunch of morons. And Reese's took it, and they ended up making that campaign for like all the way up to the mid '80s. Everything was just flying off the shelves. ET plushie, ET teddy bears, mobile little walk ETs. I mean, and then that game came out, because I remember we showed the commercial of that game. The commercial made it look like it was a second coming, and then when you popped it in that day, and I just remember, you can remember certain points in your life where you just felt so underwhelmed. It was like, wasn't even worth it to be up. And that was the gift of the year. Every kid, that was the gift. Did you take your parents? And we're that's the age where you're kind of like leaving Santa Claus behind. You know it's your parents doing it, but still it's from Santa. Everybody looking under the tree, and you could see the Atari boxes. They didn't try to hide them. It was, you knew that box was under there. The old man was going to play the video games with us. I mean, every kid on the block, everybody who had the video games was going to. I remember being out in the front yard on Christmas Day, and we were we're like fucking 7 and 8 years old discussing this game like it was like, you just watched your team lose the Game 7 of the World Series or something. It was just so bad, and I just never felt the same way about E.T. after that. But Steven Spielberg. I will give a Steven Spielberg movie a chance, unless it's like West Side Story. Then I don't care. You start going outside of the zone for me, and I'm like doing wrong.
Well, I mean,
musicals, it's just not.
I mean, for the longest time, he was like known as like via Jaws. I mean, he was one of the guys who the progenitor of the concept of the summer movie season. With the Jaws.
See, even Jaws though. Jaws was. I think it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and him and George Lucas were doing together.
Well, yeah, like Jaws, like when you think of like a summer movie, like by today's standards, Jaws is like it's not it doesn't go like a mile a minute. It takes its time. For like the last hour, like really kind of like you when the shark.
With no shark, it's
battling the shark. Oh, and I love that story. I always love that story. The making of Jaws. The shark was just such a nightmare to work with, and Spielberg said, "Okay, we just won't show the shark," and lo and behold.
Yeah, I know. I actually know who that is. You actually threw up a name on the screen, Aaron, and I know she's one of the 5 or 6 people I know. I wouldn't spend a minute watching her, but I know who she is for some reason.
Oh yeah, she and Rhonda have some bad blood.
Does Rhonda have any good blood?
that was like her last Rhonda's last fight before this one was with Amanda Nunes.
All right, William, do you ever think rock and metal will ever being a mainstream voice of the people, or do you think it's relegated to the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Unfortunately, yeah. I think it will always be around because generations hand it down to each other. But you have to realize that there wasn't a lot of white noise when it came to how you got metal back in the day. You knew right where to go to get it. It has evolved. So if you started out with heavy metal in the early to mid 80s, it evolved into, grunge. It evolved into new metal or rap rock metal, and it really didn't go back. You only have so many airwaves to be able to play these things and have access to it. So the classic rock stations, the comps, all those are always going to play metal. But even then, they're playing an AC/DC song, and then they were playing Korn or Limp Bizkit or some, Linkin Park, New Linkin Park. So your time, your bandwidth has been split up to where in the 80s when this stuff was at its height, you really had segmented music. You had country, you had to be on your own planet to listen to that. You had hip hop / rap, Run DMC, all that, and then you had heavy metal. Now, not only are those lines blurred to where you market differently, but it's all evolved. Even rap and hip hop that was in the 80s, look at what rap and hip hop is now. It's a completely different beast. So I just think it was a product of its time. But the good news is the people who were the pioneers. I mean, they're still in their 60s and 70s, but you can go. If I want to pay a lot of money, I can go see these bands. I mean, I can go see Aerosmith, when they're playing. I can go see Metallica, and I'll always have the music. And there's always going to be an outlier band that comes back and is like a throwback. that's a throwback. That's like, oh wow, that reminds me of that old '80s sounds. I mean, they're rare, but they're out there. So yeah, I think it's relegated. I think every music genre in some way, shape, or form is relegated to the era it came out. But if it's really good, like jazz for some people, it doesn't matter what era. I know people who are in their 20s listening to jazz that's 75 fucking years old. I'm listening to Hendrix. Hendrix was dead before I was even alive. So there are going to be some that are transcendent no matter what. But as far as like everyday accessibility, yeah, I think they're a product of their time. I am sure the EDC people are drug free and chase. Yeah, okay. I don't even think you can get in without the drugs. Most of the media said after the death of Ozzy that Black Sabbath was the creator of. I mean, it's when you. It depends on what you consider. I mean, I guess that would be the eye of the beholder, because that sound that Iommi developed became because he lost the tips of his fingers in a factory. So he played a different way than everybody was. So I mean, I don't have enough evidence to argue against it, but I just think the heavy metal being such a huge genre, are we going to put that on one band? I mean, Pink Floyd was psychedelic, but they were doing heavy chords. Jimi Hendrix was doing things with a guitar that nobody was doing, and a lot of that stuff got revolutionized and carried over. I mean, into what heavy metal would become, especially the stuff in the '80s. And then all of these musical forms have their lineage into jazz guitar, heavy blues guitar. So I would not fight anybody really hard if they want to say Black Sabbath created heavy metal. I don't even say the living years of Black Sabbath would even say that, though. I mean, I think that they had influences as well that came from anywhere. So yeah. Beatles had a heavy metal song, Helter Skelter. That was considered heavy metal for the time. Deep Purple, see, that's another one that a lot of people bring up, which I can make it just as easy an argument for them as anybody else. But I think both of those bands would be like, they would probably point to each other. That Christmas was still, yeah, it was amazing. It's like when I order food. When you're in the drive-in and you look at the food and it looks all good and those nuggets look all like they're like as big as your fist, and then you get this shit and it's a bag full of air with your food pressed to the bottom of it, and you're disappointed. Quadruple that for you, because we were waiting, man. We were waiting. Remember the days of even I think Radio Shack was even saying they had like a lifetime ET sitting out there for that game. And then after the game came out and we all played it, it was it was actually funny to play it for a while. And then they just took them all off the shelf. Somebody, I think in the desert, somebody dumped 1 million of them in the desert, which is like, that's too much space to be taken up for those. So E.T., Steven Spielberg. But to me, I can't even say the word Steven Spielberg because of the way I grew up and what I was watching without saying George Lucas. It was almost like I couldn't differentiate between the two unless it was Star Wars. But even then, all the things that got crossed over into both of these movie makings, and because they were friends. But yeah, during the early '80s, man, Lucas and Spielberg were like riding shotgun with each other. Let's see. Yeah, but heavy metal was for a while, and once it drifted into hair metal, hair band, and then you went from if you want to look at how heavy metal evolved in the mainstream, was you just look at Metallica. Metallica. What's up?
Well, go ahead. I was mentioning.
Yeah, from if you look from Kill 'Em All to the Black Album, that's an evolution, but that's still heavy metal. So new metal, I just let go. I let go of it.
I just thought I just noticed this. I thought I'd note the kind of the irony that William has. If you notice in the background there, he has like a cutout of Henry Cavill's Superman up here. And, well, I just realized you have like the inverse of like the Shazam cameo there. You've got just the head there.
Oh, just the head. Yeah. It's actually the whole body, but I didn't feel like
it's
this
like
is my This was my setup for now. it's just a lot easier to come and go here. I still got books on the counter and stuff, so it's just easier to come here and not have to clamp this shit. And it actually, I put up some sound stuff, so it sounds a little bit better. I noticed there was a significant difference in between the last couple of shows and then that interview I did. So I was happy for that.
Yeah, Aaron talking about new melody. It's interesting looking back, like when I was like my musical tastes kind of taking shape, middle school and high school, and like I was kind of in that weird sort of purgatory between like where it's like I was a lot of like a lot of classic metal like Metallica and AC/DC, or I was listening to at that age, but also I was in kind of like the rise of like alt rock. So like it was a lot of like Drowning Pool and
oh my god, you're hurting me right now.
And,
I just got
Korn would fall under new metal, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because that was also very. I mean, it's
Korn, POD.
Yeah, so I was listening to like rock from like 4 different eras when I was like 15, 16 years old, and it was like kind of coalescing to form my musical predilections at that age.
Yeah, for me, like I grew up in LA in the '80s, and there, it was just there for you to listen to. And then when you went to school with kids, and then you had people with tapes and stuff, and that's all we did. We passed those damn tapes around, and until they literally broke. I played my very first Metallica mixtape till it snapped, and that's what we had. Then we had the radio stations that would play certain things, and then my parents were Motown parents, but they didn't. The thing about my parents is they grew up on Motown. They never stopped me from listening to any of this stuff. They never said turn that shit down, not once. And I would blast it one day. I had Harvester of Sorrow blasting one day.
I got in trouble at school for like and probably because it was like within like a few. My parents always kind of had this idea because it was within a few years of Columbine, and like Marilyn Manson was always kind of pinned for like being like a cause of that. But it's like, I mean, I legit like got they've found out about my musical taste, or like very very metal oriented, and I mean that got me reported like the guidance counselor, and they called my parents in because it was that those 4 or 5 years after Columbine, it was not fun being a kid in American school.
Only time I got in trouble for the music I listened to in school was when the rap crowd started fucking with me. This is before my growth spurt. Before it was like, don't really mess with
what was it? Was it driven by the idea of like
Black Kids weren't supposed to be listening to that? But I'm like, and then the metal, and this is where I bonded with all my fellow weirdos. Is this in the cafeteria or in the library? This is the 2 places you hang out when you're a nerd and you're an outcast, And so people would come fucking with me. What you doing? Because we were listening to this stuff, and then what are you doing sitting at that table? And I'm like, well, I didn't think I was in Jim Crow. I could sit at any fucking table I want to.
You kind of talked about this before, and I don't know what's the.
But my metalheads rose up. My metalhead rose up and said, "You guys need to move along."
Well, there's like what's especially I put this like because were you told, because you said on the show it's like the most insulting thing as a black man you can hear is that you sound white. Were you
calling somebody the N-bomb?
You said you would take more offense at that. But like were you told you sound white or you seem white because of musical taste at that age?
From certain crowds earlier on, but listen, you fit in where you could get in. And then you're when you're in that age and you're in that age group and that point of your development, if you liked something, you found other people who liked it, and that was it. I wasn't of the age where things were based on race for me. I grew up on an Air Force base. I grew up on an Air Force base with every walk of life from all over the world. I grew up in the city of Los Angeles. It wasn't until I ran into certain crowds that weren't even expecting me to begin with. And we would be listening to something. We'd all have like the little box and everything, and they'd come out, just to fuck with people, come in and shove you around, and then these are older kids, the big stoner kids, and they're like, we're not having this. And there was like a little fight in the library. We were banned from the library for a week, and then we came back. That was it. The message was sent, and but as the mid '80s came along, and guys like Rick Rubin came along, who brought the 2 genres together, then it got easier. By the end of the '80s, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing. You had the Beastie Boys coming to prominence using all kinds of genre. You had Aerosmith coming back to prominence, standing next to Run DMC. By the mid 80s, it wasn't a problem. The early 80s, you had some issues because people were still trying to comprehend and understand it. But by the mid 80s and 90s, shit was that was over with. And then throughout the 90s, you had fucking Eminem, and all guys. It just it was done by then.
Well, early 2000 again. It's like I was probably freshman in high school when he was like really kind of like really hitting his his.
Hold on, guys. Special announcement here, and I'm gonna have to step away for a second.
Okay.
Fat Burger's here.
Oh, that's good news.
Nobody gets your jokes.
Go ahead and talk. I'm setting that up every time
you're sadly predictable, and that's gotta change.
Yeah, ask them if they think Mystery Men would have taken place the place of the Boys if they come out 15 years later. I think they would. Static X was cool. Let's listen to. Oh yeah, Disturbed is still my jam, definitely. I was kind of here and there with Marilyn Manson growing up, so. Well, like my playlist was and is very, as far as like, covering like the heavy metal, new metal, alt rock kind of eras. Again, I was listening to AC/DC, Metallica, Van Halen. At the same time, I also had on Korn, Drowning Pool, Godsmack, Papa Roach. It was my. But again, it's like all under the rock umbrella. So, yeah. But it was during that period. I remember like most of the kids at my school anyway were Linkin Park. I got them too. Most kids at my school were kind of more rap kids, but it's like I never really. I mean, I listened to some of the Eminem stuff, and like Coolio was kind of getting big, and when I was a little kid in the '90s. But I mean, it just wasn't really my genre of music. Tool and David Bowie. Well, I mean, come on, you got to have David Bowie on there. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention a couple others like System of a Down. Was that System of a Down on? In fact, here's funny joke. I've shared this on social media a couple times. Where the movies, the one with Jet Li and the Scorpion King with The Rock, because those came out within a couple of months of each other, and they they had again bands that I really gravitated to as a teenager and still is to this day. I mean, because the playlist on those, or the soundtrack on both of those, go back and listen. It's Papa Roach, it's Godsmack, it's Drowning Pool, it's Korn, it's Disturbed, it's System of a Down. So I kind of joking around and I say it's like, when I was in high school, like it's a not insignificant portion of my musical taste was formed by Jet Li and The Rock. So that'll make it out with you all. System of the Tra. Scorpions.
Stop bringing up dumb shit on my show while I'm not there.
Well, I'm talking about music and like how it came out of kung fu movies for me.
Okay, that's pretty sad.
No, really. In all seriousness, I mean,
all right, go back to the one I had brought up.
The One and the Scorpion King. The soundtracks of both those just were full of like again bands that kind of were my groups. So that were in Drowning Pool and Godsmack, Korn, all that. And it's a joke I tell where it's like a lot of my musical tastes from the age of about 15 were shaped by Jet Li and The Rock.
Hold on, well, I had one brought up that was really I wanted to finish answering. Where was the one I had? Hold on. Chris and Char, Miles Ranching, Vinny's to Children of the Sea. Children of the Sea. That is off of Heaven and Hell. I think that song brings out the best in everybody in Black Sabbath. That is a song they would never do that song with Ozzy. All right, just real quick. I'm going to finish answering that question. I have a massive head. I have a really big head. I don't fit most hats. Look at that.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, see, and I can climb trees with these hands. I have really big feet, and I'm not going to put it down with my foot, but I can't palm it.
But it's still not as big as that pretzel.
That one time. If this is a Big Mac or one of them little, a sourdough jack or something like that, I could palm it and throw it and
Yeah,
probably get it in like a. Not this. And by the way,
I need 2 Big Macs to get full on Big Macs.
Fat Burger. I know you're watching. I know now that you watch. And I know you see our post because you respond to the post. Like I said the other night, this is real simple. We can make a thing out of this, man. 2 pounds of happiness every Saturday. We just make it. We stop the show, no matter what the fuck we're talking about. We're like, everybody within the 2 miles of a Fat Burger needs to just put pause on our show and go get one. We could make a great marriage. And then the more you know the people, because I'm quite certain that the 2 women that are there every Saturday night are the ones that make this, because this is a true 2 pounds. It's technically a 1.5 pound hamburger. All right. The 2 queens have done me right. And listen, just sponsor me. I have sponsors on the show. Sci-Fi Center Presents, brought to you by Fat Burger. You know, I think we're missing out on an opportunity here. But I know you guys are going to come around. Okay. Yeah, Lost Children of the Sea, and the range of Ronnie's voice is what really makes the guitar solo. The contrast of what he can do with his voice is something, and it's the same thing with David Lee Roth. You listen to 1984. 1984 is a party that's happening on the stage. 5150 are songs. And it's because Sammy Hagar's range changed the way Eddie Van Halen wrote music and did music. He could go places he wasn't going to go. Now, you can have your preference for one or the other, but it's just different. Even if you don't want to say Ronnie James Dio is a better lead singer, you definitely got to admit that there are differences there, and it's a different Black Sabbath, but it's the same at the same time. So that is my favorite Black Sabbath song. One of my favorite songs, period. Well, I have to say this. Meant to say this on the watch along before you cut out. What cut out? We had it in the show. Cut out. Is it true that you were alone? Okay. I think he might have. Are you on Clint's plane trip? You cut out. It was true that you were alone. R-rated movies as a kid, and the old man didn't care one bit, which is why you didn't go. Well, we didn't grow up with Disney because we were just. It was kid shit. It was we didn't go see. I mean, obviously we knew we went to Disneyland, but we didn't watch Disney. We weren't like Disney people. We were horror movies. We're cop movies. I mean, whatever the old man went and saw, we went and saw with them. I mean, Beverly Hills Cop, Aliens, Alien. I mean, Top Gun. Any of those movies that the horror movies. I mean, I went to go see several Friday the 13th with the old man. And Halloween. We saw Halloween 1 and 2. We saw those in the movie theater back to back. So
I'm trying to think, what did I mean? What did I see like with me and my dad? Years ago when I saw Blade Trinity. It's just me and my dad went to that one. We were living in Europe.
Yeah, so. It was just a matter of he saw from an early age that I was into these type of movies, and if I was going to go see these type of movies, it was with the guidance of my parents, and you could develop a mind without, or you didn't have to watch Friday the 13th and go be afraid that I was going to go grab an axe and try to kill my sister or some crazy shit. They always made sure that I understood that the context of what I was watching was a movie. And what drove it home is whenever, because when me and my sister were really little and a pet or something would die on screen, they drove that into our head. This is entertainment. This is a movie. There's 10 of those dogs out there. And it's the same thing that you would apply to anything else you're watching. You can watch this and enjoy it, but that's it. It's just like the video game you played. It's just like any of the other movies. E.T. wasn't real. None of that stuff was real, and you have to take it in context. So when that was impressed upon us, we were able to watch things, and we got a little bit extra rope, as long as it wasn't too explicit. Friday the 13th had you had nudity. It was brief. It was usually some dumbass that they just met skinny dipping, and it was over with. It wasn't like, porn or anything. So even that, but yeah, we got to see our R-rated movies at an early age because we didn't freak out when we saw them. But there were other parents that were different, though. I mean, I lived on base housing. Yeah, I lived on base housing to where like a lot of times you in Air Force, one parent on the Air Force would go to the base or they would go to the movies and they would take all the because they trusted each other. A lot of these guys were in the same squad. They trusted each other with their lives, so the kids wasn't a big deal. So if Master Sergeant so and so was going to the movies, he would ask, if everybody wanted to go, and then we would all jump in whatever vehicle and then we would go. And there was I remember sometimes when we were going to see, I think it was Friday the 13th Part 3 or something like that, and one of the kids just they didn't let their kids go, and it was like that. Everybody was different, but because every parent knows their kid, every parent has seen their kid respond and react to things, and they'll know what they can feed into that kid's imagination. So my mind looked at me and said, "This is a fucking weirdo. It's going to be okay." So there you go. And Disney just bored me. Disney just bored me.
Yeah, there's another one, and this is on a base theater, and this is one my dad, because a lot of times it's like a family thing, but usually a way to see stuff on the base theater too, because that's how my mom operated. But it was stuff I just saw with my dad theatrically. One that always really kind of stayed with me, and I know why he did this now because he kind of grew up with this. Was the Mask of Zorro? Whenever that came out, that's I really
I actually thought that was G-rated.
Really? You thought that was G-rated?
There was nothing in that.
That's a violent movie, dude. That is like, nah, man, come
on. Compared to what I was watching, that was something.
I love Mask of Zorro. That's always.
I don't hate it, but I just didn't think it was anything that was like, ooh.
I mean, he's cutting Z's into dudes' necks and like,
he's not cutting their throat. I mean, then I saw the head in the jar. I'm like, okay, maybe we're okay.
Exactly.
I remember when Justice for All came out, it was similar to the whole world waking up to Aerosmith on DMC. Yeah, Justice for All was when they started to. That was right before the Black Album, and the songs were starting to get a little bit shorter. Because they wanted more airplay on the radio, and you can't be playing 8-9 minute songs on the radio. It's just they wouldn't let you. So that's why when you look at the Black Album, these songs are short. But like Justice for All is it's like a 7-minute, 57-minute song. But that was short for them back in then because the guitar solo. Some of their guitar solos were longer than some of the songs on the Black Album. So that was the album that and at that point they had risen to arena stadium level. But they weren't mainstream. There was enough heavy metal people out there that could fill up a stadium for Metallica, Monsters of Rock, things like that, the Big Four. But it wasn't like it would become in 1991 when Sad But True came out. There were people who didn't know what Metallica was, if it hit them in the face. When Sad But True came out and they got that MTV. Because Metallica had videos, but they weren't mainstream. Like, one was, you had to be, you had to know that album and be into that genre. When MTV started putting them on high rotation for the Black Album, everybody started getting in, and that was their best-selling album. I still think to this day it's their best-selling album. A lot of people think that they sold out, but they just evolved because you hear Sad But True, you can hear the DNA that's in that album from everything else. When you hear of Wolf and Man, you're hearing things from Master of Puppets. When you're hearing The God That Fell, you're hearing just about every damn song that they put out. That's still Metallica, but it's commercialized to grow their audience. Because once they bought that, there's not a person I know that picked up the Black Album that didn't go back and get Injustice for All. They didn't go back and get Master of Puppets. They didn't go back and get Garage Days. Didn't go back and get Kill 'Em All. So it worked. A lot of people think they sold out, but it was the right move and it worked.
By the way, real quick, just bringing it back to the Rousey and Carano fight too. Like,
why?
Well, because there's one thing that really, that really, as far as like a comeback, like on a personal level for them. If you look at like when they both went through their tough times, but I mean,
self-inflicted mostly. But
Gina gained a lot of weight. I mean, she was in a depression, and Rhonda was after her wrestling career sort of went south. I mean, she wasn't looking that much better, so they both like dropped a lot of weight for this. They got into just like shape, and Rhonda is literally like 4 days my junior. So just hats off to both of them for like just getting back into fighting shape, because that is it's when you I mean, I don't want to get too deeply personal here, but I mean when you misfortune befalls you, I mean, it's easy to fall into a little bit of a rut and kind of fall off the wagon, gain some weight, and they both reversed that and got back in the cage, and so yeah, that really just that alone is a big accomplishment. So me commending people for getting back from mental health struggles and cutting a bunch of weight and getting into rip shape. That's a.
I have made it quite clear that I don't care about either one of these women.
Yeah, well, it's like me and Sis do, and that fight got tons of eyeballs on tonight. So
your sister is not in the chat.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
You are more than welcome to bring her on.
She's a moderator.
But yeah, you give me those two names. Don't care.
Oh, dude. Oh, by the way, it's like did I not tell you? It's like I told you. She's Gene and one of her said yes, they have had talks with as far as Disney and Favreau.
You brought this up before, and I did the same. I did the same. I gave you the same buzzer.
Yeah,
you can have talks till the cows come home.
Yeah, well then we're yeah. So when we
what are we doing?
Because I see Cara Dune in the next year again, I will be gloating about it.
On what? Because after Mandalorian, I don't know if Mandalorian's going to do the type of business it needs to do to even give this another thought. At least as a collective, you may see Baby Yoda down the line somewhere.
When we see Cara Dune again, I'll be accepting your apology.
What are we going to see it on?
Yeah. Well, I see it Disney Plus. What do you mean on what?
The show. We're not getting another season of Mandalorian.
They might. I mean, there was already talk of a Cara Dune spinoff for a while, so they might be reviving that.
Okay, that sounds like some wishful thinking, but sure.
Again, when we see Cara Dune again, I'll be accepting your apology.
I don't give a fuck about her whether she's sitting here at the center. Don't care. Back in that time period, a lot of metal purists hated the thought of mainstream outlets. Yeah, because they felt like it was taking it from them. The metal in that period was you were speaking. It felt like these guys. It's like grunge. These guys are speaking directly to you. Their angst and their music is a lifeline to you. And when that changes and it is made accessible to other people, it feels like they're selling out. I mean, if you're a 14-year-old kid, you're like, what the hell? This is mine. This is our thing. Us nerds, losers, and whatever. This was a signal. This was our signal. Now you're taking that signal and you're giving it to the common man. So it felt like a betrayal. It's stupid, but we were fucking kids. So it was like, now you look at it as it's a business. You have to, if you care about these bands, even if they evolve into music that you don't like. I'll give you a perfect example. I like Sarah McLachlan, right? Pre-Lilith Fair. Once she got big and went Lilith Fair, it's like, this is like some softcore crazy. I didn't like it. I'm happy for that particular artist selling out arenas, doing all that. But I got to see her down here at the Huntridge, and the music was a different vibe. Sometimes people evolve away from you, and that's fine. Just because they do that, that doesn't mean that the music, I still have Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. I still have Solace. I still have Touch. Just because she did Mirrorball, that doesn't change any of that. And it's the same thing with Metallica. If you didn't like the Black Album, damn well when you pay your money to go see a concert, if they don't do Seek and Destroy, there's going to be a riot. If they don't do one, we're probably going to tear out the stands. So you're always going to have that, But sometimes, I mean, Weezer is one of the primary bands that just kind of I floated away from. They went from doing power chords. And then it's like people listen to that noise. All that's they can do is power chords. I'm like, that's fucking fine. If you're really good at something, don't stop doing it. And they were a power chord symphony. And then they went into sense that they went into other stuff, and it was sounding less and less like Weezer. Now the last couple albums that they've done, it seems back to what Weezer was. But you know what? If we during that time where they weren't playing the type of music I was okay with, if they came here and were in concert, I'm there. Because I know I'm getting Buddy Holly. I know I'm getting Say It Ain't So. I know I'm getting The World. I know I'm getting all, in my garage. I know I'm getting all that. Because when they're going to play their greatest hits, a lot of times these bands come out and they don't even play most of it. They'll play 3 or 4 of the new things, and then they'll play the other 3 hours will be their catalog, because that's what you paid to see. They're on tour for that album, but they're there giving you their greatest hits. So I think yeah, I think when bands evolve, they get called sellouts and things like that. It's just but as kids, we were like, what the fuck is this type of situation? So, all right, where are we at here? Let's see. Why do I have a Megan shirt in the background? Same reason why I have a Shape of Water shirt.
That's probably you did a promo for Megan, right?
Did a promo for Megan. Right next to that is
again. I just can't get over the fact you literally have the inverse of the Shazam cameo right behind you.
Yeah, my Thor hammer here. Thor hammer, Captain America helmet.
Oh yeah, but you're not worthy. That's why it's sitting there.
Well, I just lifted it, so there we go.
Oh well, it must have been like
probably not worthy of that. Probably won't wear that anytime soon. But yeah, this is good. You can fuck me up with this.
Oh, they fill the like those I've seen. They those like those some candy, right? Those are like a Halloween kind of thing.
No, this was something I had made.
Oh, okay, because I've seen like a lot of those where it's like you open it up and you like fill it with candy or shit like that.
This is heavy, and you hear that sound, that solid sound. You can fuck somebody up with this.
Oh, is that fiberglass?
Yeah, it's resin. Yeah, it's just heavy. It's uncomfortable to hold. I was on Junkie one time holding it, so I just got tired.
So wait, you have the strap there, right? Okay, we gotta test this out. You get the strap around your wrist, and now swing it around, and let's see what happens.
Let's concuss myself and break a window.
It'll be worth it.
No, it won't. You don't have to. So
you're spending your body to science tonight, man.
So yeah, I just threw some stuff back here so I didn't have a white wall.
Well, then of course we got Galactus right there.
Yeah, Galactus is a. I had to bring that in here because people were offering to buy it. I don't want to sell it. I'm not quite ready to sell Galactus yet. I don't know if I will be.
You know what you should do. You know what you should do. Add to that display right there. You should do what I was saying for the longest time. Do the popcorn bucket that they were too afraid to do.
Well, no, that's stupid. That's going to get people fired.
You can finally show them what's in the box, Devin.
All right.
We got a super chat from Irrational. Blue Oyster Cult versus Deep Purple versus Black Sabbath versus Motorhead versus Judas Priest. Who would you like more and why?
Well, what version of Black Sabbath are we talking? We're talking about Ronnie James Dio. That wins. I like Motorhead. I like more songs. There are more songs on Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules than the totality. I mean, Ace of Spades is always going to be a favorite I can listen to. Motorhead wasn't as much for me. I respected Motorhead after I got a chance. I didn't know a lot about Motorhead. I think I've told the story before until I got to see them in Pasadena in '92 with Guns N' Roses and Metallica. And the way Metallica and GNR, who don't at that time didn't treat anybody well, they treated Lemmy like he was a god. He was opening for them, but they treated the crowd. There was as many Motorhead T-shirts in that crowd, and I'm like, I've heard of this, but I didn't. And then when you hear them play live, I can understand the appeal. And then I learned more about Lemmy, and I had the utmost respect to that guy up till the day he died. What he did, as far as like outward integration, is almost as big for me as what David Bowie did. He invited other cultures to come listen to his music. He let people know that this music was yours too, no matter what you look like, what you came from. This is your music too. And he made people feel like insiders instead of outsiders. So I have more respect for Lemmy as a person than I have love for his overall catalog, but not a bad catalog at all. But Black Sabbath, like I said, those two albums, Mob Rules, and those are two of my favorite albums. Blue Oyster Cult has a couple. That's a tongue thing. Has some songs. Deep Purple has a vibe, but when it for me, it's going to have to be Black Sabbath.
Motorhead, it's got some. Yeah, and another band I'd been to, Rammstein.
Thank you for the 5 hours
on my place is Rammstein. I was pretty big into them too, as far as like again, forming my musical tastes as an adolescent, and like going into like early 20s. Aaron's asking, is that Nosferatu? Yeah, I think that is Nosferatu, isn't it?
Yep, that is I have a Crow one just like that.
And so 4 is also like Black Plantation Street Pimp.
Oh, no hat. I could see that though. As silly as you're being right now, I could see that.
Brad, what was your favorite joke on the Kevin Hart roast?
I
don't know if I ever watched that, to be honest. I couldn't tell you.
1 second, and I heard that got ugly. Well, thank you. I'll check. Children of the Sea. The Lost Children of the Sea. It is on the album Heaven and Hell.
I don't think I ever watched
it. We've covered it here, by the way. I played it here.
I don't think I ever watched that. It was that on Comedy Central because I know they used to do a lot of those.
That was on Netflix. No, it was pretty vulgar. It couldn't have been on TV.
Yeah, so I think the only one of those I've ever seen of like a celebrity roast is the one they did of Pamela Anderson.
I think
But it,
roasts are stupid. I make it a point not to ever watch it.
yeah, well, I mean, it's people, it's.
I know it's all in fun, but it's just.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, it's a
And
little
as soon as I
it,
see
it
what's
get
her
mean
face?
spirited.
Nikki Glazer. As soon as she pops up on my TV, I turn my TV off, no matter what it is. I just don't find her funny, and I know it's about to get real dumb and vulgar. Dio is now popularized the horn gesture, the metal horns. But there's a debate. John Lennon coined it on Yellow Submarine in a different context, though. In a different context, the way Dio did it was different than what was going on. I hear that a lot, but I think with the context of what Dio was doing was different. Where heavy metal was in the late '70s and early '80s was a different spot than where that kind of rock was in the mid to late '60s. I'm just ready for that show to be over. I'm ready for Anthony Starr to win his Emmy, and I'm ready. I was ready for that show to be over a couple of years ago. Ride the Lightning is another money. Oh yeah, I can't even forget. I often forget. Out of those albums, it's a great album, but out of those albums, if I had to rank, Ride the Lightning actually comes in after Kill 'Em All. It's actually at the bottom.
They had that in the Wonder Woman '84 marketing, didn't they? Because she literally rides the lightning with the lasso at one point.
Yeah, respect Gina. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't have it. It's not a matter of respect. I don't care about these people.
Here's a interesting one. Both of them see Zack Snyder released in their Superman. Yeah, and this is, I'm gonna go and pull it up because this isn't from like any of the movies. This is like, I guess it's concept art, but this was an interesting one he put up.
What made you
Might
think
be like
that,
fan art? Yeah.
Well, he was losing everything, and he was fighting a heroin addiction, and he was in and out of jail. Anytime you hear people going through that, it's very easy. His life could have gone one way or the other. There's a lot of people who reach that crossroads and they don't make it out. Either they overdose or they kill themselves. And I'm happy that the option C was what happened when it comes to Robert Downey. I'm really proud. That guy really can make shitty movies for the rest of his career. The fact that he was able to turn it around and become what he has become and become an example is really the biggest achievement.
And there, he was able to highlight how bad that got for him in the '90s. I mean, there's one story where he was like fleeing from the cops and he, wandered. I mean, in like a
he's sleeping in some kid's bed.
Yeah, while like coked up and whatnot. I mean that's
not just coke. Coke was a good day for him.
Yeah, it's true. But it's like that's how low things got for him during that period.
Yeah, I mean, you realize all those people in the previous decade. You think of, this is how bad it could have got for him. Think of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I didn't even know he was a heroin addict until he died with a needle of his arm in the bathroom. John Belushi, I remember that being a big deal, and he was doing speedball.
River Phoenix too, man.
Yeah, he's the healthiest guy in the world, but he would put that shit in the system. And John Belushi did so much heroin and cocaine all at once, it was enough to kill. If you could radiate death, he would have killed everyone around him. That's how much he did. So Robert Downey Jr. Seeing
Van Damme too. He had a big time cocaine addiction in the '90s.
And then some of these guys went on the painkillers and oxycodone. And it's just that. So I'm happy for him. Harvester of Sorrow is one of the greatest songs ever. Harvester of Sorrow could get me in trouble because when you're marching to that song, that shit starts out and then it's like a march. You're on your way to kick someone's ass. You don't know who, you don't know why, but if you're following the cadence of that song, whoever is at the end of that song is getting their ass whooped or something. Because then it pauses, and that was the last album before. I don't know if the word is for it. Maybe if you guys, you studio heads, you musicians are in there, that hard, hollow sound that was Metallica up until the Black Album, to where it was like a flat. The drums are flat. The vocals are flat. It's like they're doing it in some other production area, and you notice a significant difference. That was the last album that they did that, and that's why people accuse them of saying, you guys, muted out Jason Newsted's bass. So he's like, no, I can hear the bass personally. I can hear it. It's just it's in such a flat production, and I love it. And that's why when you look up, if you look up The God That Failed, there's a version of it that what if it was on Injustice for All. And then what they've done is they've taken out the overdub, they've taken out the the refinement of it, and yeah, and when you listen to the Harvester of Sorrow, that bass line that goes through it just gets you in a mood that you probably shouldn't be in. Don't listen to that shit if you're going into work. Coworkers are going to pay.
And here's the picture they were talking about. Zach shared. Yeah, again, this is interesting because this isn't from any of the movies, and he said, he says this is awesome. So I'm guessing this is fan art.
It may be.
It's great fan art. I mean, this is like
I saw Drunky post that.
Yeah, this is like a Superman shot. Like you want to see like when he's like battling Darkseid or something. This is like an epic like Superman like triumphant or Superman get ready to kick ass kind of shot. So yeah, pretty awesome. We are of course as I'm sure you're all aware we're about to, as of Wednesday it will be six years since we got that.
Yeah, we'll be doing something for that.
That's so I can't wait to celebrate that anniversary. I'm sure
only two anniversaries I celebrate when it comes to Snyder stuff is this the one that's happening on the 20th and the March 18th. Everything
I got November 17th. I always do, but I'm sure he'll have something for us.
In the 214, I dismiss those. They used to play full length one on video. Yeah, and the funny thing about it is they would play it. They would generally play it later in the evening. The radio stations would not play the full version of one. When that was the thing, MTV was playing the full version, and the radio stations, the hard rock. I mean, on pirate radio at like midnight, you could hear it. But it's a beautiful song. And when you see one in concert, man, that is one song that you cannot let them off the stage without playing. They got the cannons and they got the darkness, and it's like if you ever trained with field artillery, that's what it felt like. You can feel that shit. That shit's shaking you. It's like, what? And everybody's like, so yeah, seeing one, I don't care if they are 100 years old. I will always need to see one live when I go to see them. All right, let's get down to here, and then we're going to get into our other. Let's see. They're all right. I'm not a big fan of live albums, but I've heard some of his. I've played some of his. Anthony, my favorite Dio album is Lock Up with I thought that was decent, but when I first heard Dio, it was through Black Sabbath. So a lot of his later stuff, I was like, man, it's like when Sammy Hagar did Sit After Van Halen. It's like, ooh. Have I got this month? It's the one where he has Absolute Superman on the cover. Are you talking about that one? William, just letting you know, you can feel free to eat on air because that burger might be getting go. Oh no. I don't like eating on air. Now, Fat Burger, if you sponsor me and you say eat it on air, then I will go eat it on air. But this is a ritual that goes into eating this, so we can warm this up. I got a microwave over there, so we'll be fine. But the Fat Burger will go down just fine. I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me. There you go. William, this is Shock You. My favorite album from Metallica is Hardwired Self-Control. Hey, listen, everybody comes in at it at a different angle, so. Oh, he has a. I haven't seen him in a while. I've been too busy to catch a show. What did he do with it? I think so. it's that less refined sound, and it was coming out as their sound started to get more refined. So it balanced out what was coming out with Justice for All and the Black Album. And I think Garage Days came out, what, 87, 88? If I can, it's been a while. William, what are my thoughts on that album? Did you like Hardwired Destruction? Not really. Not really. I don't refer to that album very much at all. Just like Load, Reload, some of those things. When it comes to Metallica, for me, the core albums that I probably so it's going to go. I think the greatest Metallica album is Injustice for All. After that, it's the Black Album. After that, it's Master of Puppets. After that, it's Kill 'Em All. And then the last album of the circle of ones that I listen to are going to is going to be Ride the Lightning. It's going to be at the bottom of that list, but that's a bottom of a very good list. Also, there are who is this? Okay, somebody's there are songs on like Load and like the Memory Remains. I don't like that album, but I like that song. I think Reload there's a song called Unforgiven 2. There's also an Unforgiven 3, but the guitar solo for Unforgiven 2 is epic. It's as good as anything that he did, Kurt Hammett did with Unforgiven. So, even though I don't like the overall albums of some of these things, there are still songs that I can pick through. And in this day of digital, I can just, make my own playlist. Which Iron Maiden? There's so many. You want to do a Sign of the Beast? I mean, which Iron Maiden's great. I grew up with Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden was one of those bands that visually got me going. Where I would be at the warehouse, or I would be on the bass, the music store, or something like that. Their artwork on their albums would always got me before I even knew what Iron Maiden sounded like. I knew what they looked like, and I loved it. So I actually thought that was pretty cool. I would go a little bit darker with it as far as tone goes, but it's a compromise, I feel, but I liked it. I wish we were getting something like that. I also got that other thing that you sent me with that one movie, the guy who failed to save the world. I might give that an episode. I don't think I'm going to watch it very long because I get big. I can get into stuff until I feel like I feel attacked here. So I'm going to give that a shot. But I did like that. Thank you. Is that Sign of the Beast? I think that's Sign of the Beast. Hold on. That was in 82. That was earlier on. Oh, that was before my. I went back and got that. Yeah, Number of the Beast. Number of the Beast. I was right. I think that I bought that and I got a hold of that in 86. I want to say. I know I was 12, so it had to be 86. So you want if we were that if we ever did Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, it's automatic. It's automatic. I mean that arguably, if you talk to Maiden fans, that's at the top. You got Children of the Dam, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills is classic. Hallowed Be Thy Name. So if we ever did review of Iron Maiden, we might do that sooner or later. Then that would be the album I would start with. I could see Zack Snyder going anywhere because it's business. It's business, and the Warner Brothers that he left is not the Warner Brothers that currently exist.
Well, apparently he's already there, or he's heavily alluded to, like he's going to be working with Paramount, which by extension we'd be working with Warner Brothers at this point, or once the merger.
Yeah, and by the way, even if it wasn't for the merger, the clowns that caused him issue are gone, and have been gone for almost 6 years now, or at least 4 or 5.
And because he's got the UFC movie he's doing, and that's that the Paramount's not the parent, they're not the parent company of UFC, but they have like, it's Paramount Plus is like a link to UFC now. There's some kind of relationship there. So there's been a lot of speculation that Brawlers, as it's going to be called now, is it's going the Paramount is going to be the distributor for it. So
yeah. But this kind of shit, guys, happens every day. I think fans will focus on Zach's time with a certain management. This is the kind of business like this done every time, every day.
Much to William's chagrin, no doubt, me mentioning this, but look what happened tonight. I mean, these two ladies were away from the cage for.
Well, no, that's a good example. I don't give a fuck about either one of them, but that's a very good example. I mean, don't confuse me not caring about it, but that's they didn't burn bridges. I mean, I think Gina hasn't burnt all of her bridges. I think some of them are just a little bit too hot right now to, in this day and era, maybe a year or two from now. But I see Star Wars moving away from that story anyway. So, I'm trying to understand the hatred people have for Dave. I'm going to assume you mean Dave Mustaine. He's an asshole. Listen, Dave Mustaine deserves every accolade that man has earned. That man kept thrash metal in the game while the game was trying to evolve from thrash metal. He revolutionized. He helped. He was in the shadow of the band that fired him. The Metallica and all these other groups were they were a monolith that he was struggling uphill to get into. And at the end of the day, the big four is Slayer, Anthrax, Metallica, and Megadeth. So he fought himself back to that level and made some pretty damn good music doing it. But he's an asshole. That's his words, by the way. He knows he's an asshole. He knows that, he burns people. He's like burning a light bulb, switch him out. Look how many lineups Megadeth had. I think Marty Freeman was there the longest, and even then, Dave Ellis. I mean, he's one of the greats, and you can't take that away from him. But personality-wise, he has a chip on his shoulder that at 60-something, I don't think he needs anymore. He's done it. Anybody who tried to undercut him and say that he wasn't on the level of anybody else, they can fucking go tread grass because he's done it. Megadeth, you cannot imagine that genre, to be honest with you, without Megadeth, which is ironic because what if they'd have got along together? What if Metallica? Can you imagine? I want you guys who are in that genre, who listen to this music, to imagine a metal world without Megadeth. If he never gets fired from Metallica, he never branches out. They probably never leave that style because he wrote some of those songs. So, yeah, to answer your question, he's a bit of an ass, but he's a great. You gotta respect him for that. Some of the people who are on that level are assholes. And to be honest with you, during that era, the Metallica, admittedly, were asses too. It just sometimes that's part of the game. All right, let's see. Zach, Scarlett Johansson. I guess she's playing something today. Yeah, and then you got Charles Dance as Harvey Dent's father, which tells me that we're getting. I think I'm going to put my quarter down. We're getting quarter valves.
I don't think she's going to be Poison Ivy.
No, she's already been announced. Yeah, she's Harvey
she is?
Yeah, she's Harvey Dent's wife. Charles Dance, his father. Okay. Yeah. And Sebastian Stan is Harvey Dent, but not Two-Face. And listen, guys, Batman people, for the rest of my life, let's fucking stop. You don't. Is there a bet? Do you get a bonus by putting Two-Face in every generation of Bat? Let's. I know. Well, we got the Joker. We use the Joker. Two-Face is not the Joker. Don't compare junior high to grad school. It's not the same. So, yeah, and then don't. And if you're gonna do him in his own movie. That's one of the things about Aaron Eckhart's performance I thought got that kneecapped because whenever Heath Ledger wasn't on the screen, I didn't give a fuck about Two-Face. To be honest with you, I didn't give a fuck about anybody else in that movie. Once I saw Heath Ledger, I wanted more. That was my crack. Don't cut me off. And you had some greats in that. You had Morgan Freeman is in that movie. Michael Caine is in that movie. Kristen Bell's in that movie. Maggie Gyllenhaal. You had greats in that movie. I didn't give a fuck about any of them. Once I saw, I got these cards, that's all I wanted to see. And that's all anybody wanted to see. That's what kept me. When people were repeating the hell watching out that movie. I know of guys who went and saw it 6, 7, 8 times. They were not going to hear Lucius Fox. They were not going for Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face. They were going because they saw one of those all-time performances that their dads were telling you about when you saw Marlon Brando or Al Pacino. That Heath Ledger performance was there. That is that trilogy for me. But putting Harvey Dent in there, you should have just waited until The Dark Knight Rises. Probably would have made that movie better. But yeah, she's playing Miss Dent. Let's see. All right, let's get to this Marvel announcement. Which, you know what? Fuck Marvel. This looks really good. But guess what? I don't trust Marvel. I have the same thing about the DCUs I do about Marvel now, because I was having a time of my life outside of Absolute Batman. I was having an awesome time with the Ultimate brand. And now we got this thing coming along, and a lot of people are comparing it to Midnight Suns. But I got a problem with this. You didn't need to end the Ultimate Universe with this. By the way, if you guys aren't reading Ultimate Endgame, that is some bonkers crazy shit the way they're wrapping that up. They know it's over, and they are approaching it as if there's not going to be anything else afterwards, so except for this thing. So a lot of people, as soon as this imprint came out, it immediately drew comparisons to Absolute DC. And there are some similarities there. It's a definitely different. You know what? I'm okay with that. If you're following the molds of Absolute DC, you're doing the right thing. But Marvel was already doing that though with the Ultimate Universe, and for the second time, they manufactured a reason to get rid of one of their top selling lines. They got tired of money. All right, the Midnight Universe plunges Marvel mythos into darkness. Marvel Comics presents a terrifying new publishing line from a superstar lineup, including kicking off in August, bless you, with Midnight X-Men with Jonathan Hickman. Here's Jonathan Hickman again. They always go to him when they want to do this shit, but they don't want to stay with him. The light has had its turn. For over 80 years, Marvel Heroes has inspired hope. This August, that hope dies in the shadows of the Midnight Universe. A new publishing line where top creators unleash haunting new visions of Marvel's greatest icons. The nightmare begins with 3 titles: Midnight X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, Ultimate Spider-Man; Matteo Del Fonte, Nova Centurion; Midnight Fantastic Four, Benjamin Percy, who worked on Punisher, and Kev Welker, Infernal Hulk, which is really good. Midnight Spider-Man by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Infernal Hulk, and an exciting Marvel Comics debut artist. I don't know how to pronounce this. SCIE, Cy Trunk. Cy, if you're watching and I butchered your name, I'm sorry. I'll have to hear it to know how to say it again. Dark, predictable, unmissable. The Midnight Universe draws in longtime fans and newcomers. This sounds very familiar to me because that's exactly what Absolute did. To entering a terrifying new world where anything can happen, interconnected by rich lore building. Marvel's most definitive modern creators are given free reign to reimagine heroes with shocking twists and chilling transformations, and boundaryless creator-driven storytelling that will keep readers on edge issue to issue. The X-Men no longer fight for acceptance. They hunger for blood. The Fantastic Four venture into the unknown, not to save the world, but to unleash terror upon it. And Spider-Man discovers with great power comes something. And they're doing, I'm getting Man-Spider vibes, which is one of my least favorite Spider-Man stories. So there you go, Midnight. Jonathan Hickman, Matteo Del Fonte, that's X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. And then there's you can see that there. That's the imprint, right? The poster that we'll be getting with Storm on it. October. So this is starting in August and runs till October for the beginning. Now, I have no problem with this. As a dealer, I'm looking for. I'm always like anything that gets you buying Marvel these days. And then, by the way, Spider-Man is doing well. I'm down with. The problem I have is they don't stick with it. They don't. There was no when they started the Ultimate line. Nobody. I mean, it was only supposed to be a 24-story arc or 24-issue arc, 2-year arc. That didn't mean That didn't mean it was going to end. And if it was going to end, it should have gone into another Ultimate Universe. But this is different. This is new. It seems to do. It seems the same aim is to get those old collectors back that have grown away from your product. I don't know how many people, when it came to Superman, especially, they just outgrew the story. They lost their connection to the story. Same thing with Batman, and then so many Bat titles and all these things that were going on. The reader and plus with DC the last 15 years breaking up their continuity and making their lore worthless, in my opinion. So what Scott Snyder did was he kept the basics, but he added on to it. So Marvel is following that blueprint because it works. There's no shame in copying shit that works. If they stick with it. This sounds amazing. But so did Ultimate Spider-Man second time around. So did Ultimate X-Men. So did and we got 2 years out of that. So this sounds great. It looks great. I just hope they stick with it. I don't want to be here in 2 years being like, oh wow, they're wrapping up. And what's going to happen, because if it looks great, it'll probably do well. But when Marvel having the time that they are selling books, you cut off a line that was doing bonkers. You see where Ultimate Spider-Man was in the top 20. Most of those books were in the top 20 on a month by month basis. So I don't know why. And you're using Hickman again. Because I know a lot of people were feeling about the Ultimate line that's being shut down the same way they feel about the way the Hickman X-Men ended. It's there's got to be something that they get on and stay on. So, but this looks great. I will promote the shit out of it. I hope we're not talking about another 2 years from now. What else are we doing? At some point, fans just that's what fans, if they don't feel like the time that they invested is worth anything, and you're just going to keep rebooting and resetting and realigning, then eventually they're just going to leave. So, and when Scott Snyder said, when I asked him on our interview, I hear rumors that, this is only going to go so long. He's like, no, we're going to keep going as long as fans keep buying it. We're not going to take something away from people that they're enjoying. And I asked him, I'm like, dude, can you sneak into the Marvel offices and whisper in somebody's ear? Because a lot of people were enjoying the Ultimate line, and it's gone now, or it's going away. So kudos to them for trying something new and different. Let's see if you can stick the landing and take off again. All right. Any last? I cover everything. Make sure I covered Dio, covered Marvel Midnight. One last thing to cover is going to be. I hope you guys if you watch this show and you've seen how I feel about Absolute Green Lantern. I know it's complex. I understand. I've turned some people onto it, and did I have that Marvel Midnight up the whole time, or was it? I hope I didn't. I'm on two different screens. Sorry if I didn't have the Midnight image up. All I'm going to say, and this is hard for me to say because I'm not the biggest fan of Blackest Night. I thought it became too cluttered, too weighed down, and went into too many directions. But it was popular as hell, and a lot of people like it. If you're one of the people who enjoyed that story for what it was, as far as the different color spectrums and things that they do, this is evolving into a book I think you're going to like because they address that from page 1, minute 1. The different spectrum of emotions in this story. Hal Jordan is not the Green Lantern. He has been taken over by what is the black energy that is in the mainline universe. John Stewart is a Yellow Lantern, but not in the same way Sinestro is. Sinestro is they have it classified. Sinestro in this, it is a Sinestro. There it is. I think he has yellow energy, but he's an anomaly. There's people that the energy that certain types of energy chooses, and there are certain ones that just steal it, and they're anomalies. The yellow energy for John Stewart is for those who are seeking knowledge, and at the point he is absorbed, he's seeking knowledge on how what is going on. The whole story starts with Avon Sor, a very different looking Avon Sor, coming down and doing a judgment, and he's looking for another Green Lantern. And as he is running into the Guy Gardners, the John Stewarts, and everybody else, he's judging them, and they are given different energies. And that's how it's going with that. Um, it's a slow build, and it takes a long time to get to where to where they're at. But I think that by the time we get to November and all these heroes meet, because that's what's happening, I think the Green Lantern, and you're already starting to see it referenced throughout other comics. The Owens are different. It's Omega and Alpha. That's who the Green Lanterns and everybody else answers to. And then there's different entities, all of which that you will recognize if you have been reading Green Lantern for a while. But you do not have to read Green Lantern to enjoy this book. It helps because every character in this book is from the mainline universe. But if you just were coming along, you could start here and then cheat, use YouTube, use references, and that would you'll see Hector Hammond, you'll see Johnson, you'll see those people if you haven't already known who they are. They've taken the lore that goes all the way back to Alan Scott's Green Lantern and how they retcon that post-crisis, and they've added some of that lore into here because this universe is different. It's built on dark side energy. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen in a darker way than they would in the normal mainline universe. This Green Lantern here, it functions more like a space horror than it does anything else. It's still a superhero comic, but there's a lot of mystery in there. There's more mystery in here than I've seen in any type of Green Lantern outlet. But it's a slow build. If you are in any way, shape, or form familiar with any of Green Lantern's characters, Rose Gallery, I think you'll enjoy this because there's a lot of callbacks throughout the entirety, the Golden Age and the Silver Age. But especially if you like the Blackest Night, if you like the Sinestro Wars, if you like the storytelling that was based on each emotion that that those rings had, I think this series calls out to you. I know it's not moving as fast as Absolute Batman or Wonder Woman, but as we evolved into year 3 of this, when you start getting their own version of Justice League, and you're dealing with concepts that have to do with the connection of Darkseid to the universe, so it's inevitable that you're going to see a Superman crossover, you're going to see a Batman crossover because of what Joker revealed in Absolute Evil. He understands now that this universe is sentient, and they're going to choose a side. Like you're going to see probably one of the Black Energy lanterns align themselves with the evil Justice League because they see the universe differently than the heroes do. They see the universe as people tampering what has been stable and good, and if that happens, they'll destroy the universe. So if you're a Green Lantern fan at all, I think you should be reading this book if you're not. I know less people are reading this book in this and Martian Manhunter and a lot of that when we'll go over next week because its story pace is completely different. Same thing with Martian Manhunter. You got to really be dialed into that book. But I think as we get to November, as we go along, if you enjoy any aspect of the Absolute books, I think you should be reading them all. But if you're not reading Green Lantern and you are into Green Lantern, this book is for you. There are significant differences, but there are callbacks. It's like the furniture is the same, but it's been repaired, switched around. Some of it's in another room that you don't recognize, but you recognize, So I really think that more people, I think as many people who are reading Absolute Batman should be reading Absolute Green Lantern. And then after you're done with that, head on over to Martian Manhunter for that mindfuck. And if you're into the Martian Manhunter and you're familiar in any way, shape, or form, I think you're going to enjoy the spin that they put on the characters in there. And they're in their own way the same things that they're doing with Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute Martian Manhunter, which is about to end because it was a miniseries, and Absolute Flash are the same things, but it depends on how familiar you are with the lore of those characters. The more familiar you are with the lore of each of these characters, the more enjoyment you're going to get. However, you don't have to have any. I've handed this to people who just like science fiction. I've added Absolute Batman to people who know Batman from other formats other than comics. I've handed the Flash for people who only know him from tragically the CW show and didn't even watch that, but they know him from that. So you don't have to be a Flash expert, a Batman expert to jump into this universe. But I think Green Lantern, as we get outside the Trinity, I think people are like, "Ooh, let me wait a little bit." No, don't wait. Jump right into Absolute Green Lantern. I think you're going to enjoy it. I can see if they were to make movies of some of these things. I'm gonna venture out to say that if mainstream cinematic movies get made, that just like the Ultimate Universe was like partially the template for the MCU, I think the Absolute Universe might end up being a partial template for any DC franchise going forward. That's just my thoughts. Yeah, so there we go. Get on it. There's trade paperbacks. I have reprints. Most of your major comic book stores, and I'm a minor one, they're going to have the reprints to keep it cheap. You don't have to bankrupt yourself to get into the Absolute Universe. We got trade paperbacks that are dirt cheap. We got 10, 15,000 prints. We have the new line that just reprinted the entire line. So if you just want to get into the story, there's so many ways I can get you in. But if you want to get it for the collectability, then you're on that road too, and you know what to do. So. All right, that was the last major topic of the day. No open panel, don't ask. I'm tired. I'm hungry. So this won't be long. So we'll
giant ass burger there. That should take care of that.
Yeah. So I will. William's biggest hot take. I don't think that's a hot take, to be honest with you, but it's to each his own.
Oh, that's definitely a minority opinion.
Yeah, that's fine.
That'd be the closest is maybe because Rises. It tends to be, I think, the least liked out of the three. So that's probably the closest to like William's take to like the general consensus.
Batman Begins bores the eyeballs out of my skull. The Dark Knight is just a vessel to deliver Heath Ledger's performance to me. And I think The Dark Knight Rises is just a bad movie. It's just a bad movie. So I don't see it. I think sometimes people get the Paul Bunyan complex when they look at these things in retrospect. And maybe it's because I'm sitting there watching these things in real time. No, I mean, I can't watch The Dark Knight as a full component of the movie anymore. I can tell you, I watch Heath Ledger's performance, and that's it. But no, I think it is highly overrated, and I think it's overrated to the detriment of other Batman movies because people always harken back to that one. No one nailed it. I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't believe. I don't really care about hot takes. Your opinions are what your opinions are. It's not a team sport. But I think what Matt Reeves did with the Batman is what was attempted in the Dark Knight trilogy. I just think Matt Reeves just did it better. And that's just my opinion. Like I said, it doesn't have to be popular. That's my opinion. If you want people to lie to you, it's because so that they fit in. But no, I never fit in, and I have no. Try to keep saying.
Jonah Hex working. Actually, probably. I think he's kind of like.
I think he would fit too well.
Yeah, he's almost tailor-made for the Absolute Universe. He's like pre-absoluted, basically.
Yeah, I think that he would change into a character.
By the way, that movie's terrible. The Josh Brolin and Jonah Hex, that movie's awful.
Yeah, I think he would change the character and it would be not recognizable. Who would be the perfect person to do writing for Midnight Captain America or Tanya Coates is a good one. Stephanie Phillips, I think, would be a good one for that one. Mark Waid would be good. Mark Waid for anything Captain America would be good. Let's see. No, I am no. Barely getting back into the swing of things for for Saturday night. I still got some work to do here. Has mainstreaming of modern comic book movies been a bane or boom for the comic book industry? I would say boom because it can't hurt it. It definitely has not hurt it, and I think that if it weren't for these movies, these guys will never pick up a comic book. Most of them never will, which is fucking tragic. But if I get them in my doorstep, I'm going to do everything I can to make that connection to the papers and the staples. You're already there. You have interest in the character, so I will. I think it hasn't hurt. I don't know about boom to the point, but it's definitely these comic book movies and then cosplaying have made it easier. It's thin that ice wall that used to be between normies and geeks. So I would say boom. $2 super chat or the $5 super chat. Thank you, Rational. Your thoughts when you first see Superman Returns trailer and your expectations going into the theater to watch it, or same question on Mansell. I felt that Superman Returns is going to be a disaster because you could see from the trailer what they were doing. They were trying to give you in 2006
Christopher Reeve Redux
Superman that I had outgrown, and I saw that Superman.
Which is why you don't use the Williams theme except for Christopher Reeve.
That's two different things. You're talking about the movie itself being a direct sequel in nostalgia. When you're talking about that's when you're talking about marketing, all the theme song and stuff like that, that's just marketing to sell a movie. It's a business. I know fans don't give a shit about the business aspect of anything anymore. They just get caught up in their feels. But if I'm marketing a movie that I spent hundreds of millions of dollars on and I can make that connection, that's different than trying to relive an entire movie.
Worked. So you don't do it.
Yeah, that's why fans are fans and executives are executives.
Well, show me where it worked.
Show me where it didn't. That's not why that movie didn't work. That movie didn't work because it sucked. But to answer the question he asked, the music was fine, and the Joe Average, the majority of the people, they're not going to give a shit about that. Fanboys fuck themselves with that, and they spin themselves into vomiting circles, and I let them. When you're talking about when they first showed the trailer of that movie, I think it was 2005, late 2005 when they showed that. It literally was, you could see the look and the feel. You could see that what they were doing. And they said it. The people who were making that movie at the time said that they wanted to make that connection. Theme song would have been one thing. Wouldn't have no issue with that. That would have been smart. But the entirety of the movie. So when I saw that, I knew that was going to be a disaster. Now, when I saw the second half of your question, what I saw going into the Man of Steel, one of the very first movies that we did promotions on, so we got a lot of early stuff on that one. It exceeded my expectations by miles. What I thought I was getting and what I got was blown away from the Krypton scene that opens the movie. That opening scene of Man of Steel separates itself from anything I'd ever seen Superman-wise.
Rash, are you talking about like the first, for both the movies, are you talking about like the first teaser or like the first proper trailer? Because because both of them had multiple trailers, as is typical for summer blockbuster. But like the first like teaser.
I think it's a composite question of the things you saw before you actually saw it.
So it's like the general kind of like trailer mark. Oh, you said first teaser. Yeah, down the bottom.
Thank you for the $5 super chat.
Yeah, first teaser. I mean, a little bit of personal, and professional history. I mean, I, eventually went on to write a piece on Complet.com about that, where I said it was one of the best teasers / trailers for a DC movie, and Big Guy himself, shared it on Twitter. So that was very gratifying. I
barely remember the teaser for Superman. I remember the first full trailer I saw for Man of Steel.
Yeah, I remember all the marketing for Man of Steel. I mean, I was on that hype train. Like I was like sitting behind the conductor on the hype train for that. I wasn't. I had zero expectations at that time. I knew who was directing it, and he did the one movie I'd seen from him in that genre of that genre was Watchmen. So I was on board. I didn't think it was going to ever be as big a deal as it ended up becoming. when yes, again that share was pretty awesome, and that was like half the reason because it played. The first teaser was very heavily. The marketing for the teaser was like, you want to see it in theaters, go see Dark Knight Rises, and when I saw that back when we had midnight shows at midnight, because of course that got sidelined by what happened that weekend, unfortunately. But I saw the marathon. The reason I saw the marathon, with one of the major reasons I saw the whole marathon of Dark Knight trilogy that for the midnight show was because I hadn't got to see Begins in the theater because that was actually right when I was graduating from high school at the same time my dad was retiring from the Army. So the family was like, it was like a big change for all of us at that time. We were moving from Europe, coming back stateside. So, and of course stuff took forever to get over to the theater in Europe. So by the time, we get back, I mean, it wasn't even, I don't know, he's even like out theaters at that point. So I didn't get to see it theatrically. So I had okay, I wanted to see all three of them theatrically. And then you had the Man of Steel teaser. And then, that was played before Rises. And that was probably a good 40-50% of my.
Mine didn't have that teaser. No, I saw the poster, but you went and sat there. I would rather get kicked in the head by a horse than watch that trilogy in its entirety. William, when you say Jonah would fit, what do you mean? Would story be? No, that universe is a cult. I don't know.
It's flipped on its head. It's the opposite. Everything in that universe is opposite. So I don't know if he fits in there because it's on the nose. You already have that universe is what it is. It would be completely different Jonah Hex. I don't know if anybody would even recognize it. But I don't think that character is at the top of any list. But then again, they still got what's their face and
we still haven't even got Absolute Aquaman yet, have we?
I don't know if we're getting that anytime soon, to be honest with you, because we're getting Green Arrow next. So I mean, I think we'll eventually get them, but
we're gonna get Aquaman, because that goes without saying. But
no,
I haven't got him yet.
I think it's going to be quite a while because he'd be there already. Because you see how methodically Scott Snyder's. But I mean, we'll get him. I just don't think it's going to be before November or anything like that. Unless they're going to.
Well, yeah, you made it sound like years before we get Absolute Aquaman.
Maybe a year or two.
Years, plural.
Yeah, maybe two. Yeah. Depends on how his story rolls out. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's in a rush to make. The fact that he wasn't part of the core 3 or 4 that came out.
And by the way, he's probably going to make it like Jason Momoa.
Might be because look how he made Wonder Woman look. William, so I answered that question for you. Thank you for the.
Christian Bale. I don't think that would have made any. I don't think it would have made it better received. I'm inclined to think it probably would have. And I remember at the time, there was a lot of heavy speculation that they were going to try to integrate them, and even Zach at one point alluded to had Rises not ended with Bale's Batman retiring, there that would have been a possibility on the table. Not necessarily that it was going to be strong possibility, but that would have been out there. But I'm inclined to. I personally think they made the right call with we're going to do.
I think they made the right call, but yeah, it probably would have made a lot more money because. I think Dark Knight Rises sucks, but a lot of people went to go see it. I think a lot of it went based on what Heath Ledger did, but you may have had that role. I think it would have been a huge mistake, and I don't think I would have enjoyed the movie. In fact, I know I probably would enjoy the movie because I didn't enjoy.
That's why I'm glad they didn't do it.
So, but I think money-wise, financially-wise, I think that I would have made more money.
And one thing
that doesn't mean it would have been the right decision, though. Don't get me wrong. Don't come at me.
And one thing I really because they could have done this if they had carried over Bale's Batman, and this is why I'm grateful as a fan of the series they didn't do it. Is the Dark Knight Rises suit that Affleck wears? That's one thing. That is one aspect of the Snyderverse.
The Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Rises. What the fuck?
No, the Returns. Dark Knight. His suit is. I mean, it is the Dark Knight Returns suit.
Yeah, and the Batmobile.
And it's one thing that I think Zach's movie, his superhero movies are just unrivaled in is the suits. I have yet to see better suits on Superman, on Batman, on any of these characters than what we've gotten from that. And that's again doing the Dark Knight. I mean, because Bale had his own suit. He had it was designed to be this is like
I just didn't like any of the voice. That voice, man. Hearing that voice in those movies.
You're never gonna turn ordinary citizen.
Garbage. You kill people for money.
That's what I liked. That's what I love too. Also about with I kind of wonder also maybe that might have been like Affleck when he came aboard said, okay, but I'm not doing a voice like that, so we got to figure a way around this. And
voice modulator like he does in the comic.
Yes, no, but when you hear it the first time, it's like it's one thing to like talk about it theoretically or to have like comic book canon to hear it, like in live, to hear like Batman sounds like a demon in his voice. It's like that is like, holy shit, that was a good call.
Yeah, I spent years getting the Bale trilogy out of my head. Why are you guys bringing it back there? So to answer your question, I think it financially would have been more lucrative for them, but creatively it would have been fucking stupid. So yeah.
Well, that's why it's like would have been long term financially better, because it's like if you do that, will you just get like a one-off like bigger hit, but also does that lead to diminishing returns?
I think diminishing returns would, because the quality of it. I think by the time that the Batman, I think because I still believe a lot of people went to go see Dark Knight Rises because they were off. It was the last movie you saw with all the people in it was one of the, in their opinion, one of the great movies of all time. It definitely had one of the great performances of all time. It's not even in my top anything as far as Batman movies goes, but a lot of people still went to go see it. But when they saw The Dark Knight Rises and it wasn't a good movie, I still think you would have had some carryover, but I still think it would have been diminishing returns eventually, and they did make the right decision. Even if it did get a spike, I still think it would have come down. We just didn't know how to accept these movies back then. If we had better fans, to be honest with you, and I'm not saying you had to love everything I love, but you didn't have to shit on it prior to it coming out, and that attitude. We never got a chance to see how that movie would have done, because you had dumbass execs listening to stupid ass people, and then you had a circle jerk going on. All right, I think we will get an absolute Suicide Squad, and I think Harley will eventually be in it. Absolutely. Yeah, by the way,
Black Adam too. Yeah.
Superman's another really good book.
I love an absolute Superman.
Shazam storyline is fucking cool, dude. That fight with that they had, that was awesome. And I like the storytelling aspect of it. I like the way they're telling Teth Adams' story. And for that fight, I mean, how powerful he is, and you start to see how powerful absolute Superman really is. And then people
are going to start owing The Rock an apology for this idea. It's like that. It's like Superman. Black Adam's not a Superman villain. What the hell are you doing? It's like, well, here we are a few years later, and Scott Snyder's like, and it's not like there wasn't already comic book and animation precedent for Black Adam and Superman being, even though he was like more prominently a Shazam adversary. But again, this idea
you put a goofy, lighthearted Shazam. I wouldn't. I don't know if you wanted to do that. I mean, that was a different, and it was
again the idea that a Black Adam and Superman rivalry is something that The Rock singularly concocted.
That's the stupid internet knuckleheads that propagated that shit. The average person who the movie would have, if it was gonna, who spends the majority of the money on these movies, they wouldn't have gave a fuck. You know who they're gonna want to see? If you gave them a survey, if you gave Joe and Jenny Average a survey of who they wanted to see fight who, I will bet money none of those motherfuckers are going to want to see, Shazam, please. No. The average person, Superman and The Rock, whoever the fuck The Rock is playing, if The Rock had been being Crypto, then that's who they were going to want to see at that time. So, yeah.
Crypto one too.
No, he was he was the Black Dog, wasn't he? Or was he Crypto?
Oh, he was Crypto and Super Pets.
Who was Black Adam's dog? Who played Black Adam's little?
No, that was I think that might have also been The Rock, actually. You're talking about the voice in Superbets?
Yeah. Well, I had to get up. You know what? I got up like 8:00 in the morning to guide people because we did a promotion, and whenever they do an animated promotion, they want to do it in the morning so that the kids could show up. That's why, even though we promoted Into the Spider-Verse, which is the best Spider-Man movie, I had to go because I do nothing in the AM, barely. And we had all these kids who dressed up as Spider-Man. It's 8:00 in the morning, and they're like, we got to get them in there, count them, give them the little prizes and stuff, did a little trivia, and I got the fuck out of there. And then I saw it. I paid to go see it. I could have sat there and dozed off and saw it. The following Thursday, me and my buddy John, we went to go see it, and I was blown away. That is my favorite Spider-Man movie. Is Into the Spider. My second favorite is Across the Spider-Verse. And right now, I have No Way Home. Actually, no, I have No Way Home number 4. Spider-Man 2 is one of the great comic book movie trilogies of all time, and I have No Way Home after that. I think one of those is getting pushed back when Beyond comes out, if shit ever comes out. You might get him. There doesn't seem to be, outside of the main Trinity, there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to how these characters pop up.
Well, again, like Martian Manhunter, I mean, it's like, I mean, you can probably count on, like, over like the years, you can probably count on one hand the number of times he's had his own title. I mean, he's typically featured as an ensemble player. He's
a Justice League stalwart. He was in the Brave and the Bold, so I understand him. But man, they've turned that story on its ear. That is not the John Jones that you grew up watching, and it's great. So all right, guys, that's it.
Aaron also said also Absolute Robin. Yeah, definitely.
We already have that. We have several of them. Almost forgot. Yeah, we got about 20 of them, motherfuckers. Robin. So, almost forgot because I had already reviewed. Let me go get the rest of them. See what else I got. I think I sold out of the variants, but if you're into Mecha and Robotech, you got to throw out this last part of this episode. La, 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 la. Shit, almost tripped in. So after Batman came out, we reviewed it. I did a spoiler-free review a couple of weeks ago because I got this one pretty early. Here are the covers. Let me get Brad's big head off the screen. Here's some of the variant covers. Obviously, the variant cover market has been driving a lot of these sales, and some of the stuff has gotten too ridiculous. Like they're doing special drops from like store exclusives that are like way too much money, but you know what? If the market's there, that's one right there. This is the A cover. Now the A cover, there was a lot of news about it because the A cover coming from the East Coast, I guess a lot of the A covers. Go ahead and mute yourself, Brad, real quick. A lot of the A covers were damaged, so I was able to get mine came in. They were not damaged. But this is the A cover with Batman standing in the foreground, and then the one giant Robin. And this is the one that they had hidden the Robin because they were trying to not spoil it, but then people wanted to see it. So Scott Snyder greenlit so that you could see it. You knew they Robins were part of the story. This is one of the Robins right here, and it's standing next to Mega Suit. Now, in this storyline, the Robins work for the Joker right now, currently. Here's another one. Giving me the Iron Giant vibes there. It's another variant. And this is the one that really caught my eye. And this is Robin, yellow. One of the reasons why I cannot stand the concept of Robin is this big colorful goofball along this big dark brooding character, but that's fine. It is what it is. But unless you're dialing a 900 number to kill him, which I probably did. So that's these. Ironically, this issue is more about the Scarecrow, Absolute Scarecrow, than it was the Robins don't show up until the end. but Absolute Scarecrow is in a jail cell with Joe Chill, um, taunting Batman about something about his past that and his mother and all this, so this other mystery. So, but yeah, the covers are deceiving because it is funny because the cover that the Scarecrow is on when his first appearance, he's in the book for like a panel, and then the other ones where he's not on the cover, he's in the book for the most of the time. Also, this came out. And this is the reprint of Batman: The Dark Knight. This is book 3. This is a Frank Quitely cover. Love this cover. It comes from a panel in the book. The panel in the book where Batman kills the Joker, and you can see the bat blade in the Joker's eye, just like you can see it inside. In fact, I think it's from this and then the battle between Superman and Batman is in this one. Dude, this comic really, I mean, this panel right here, The Dark Knight Returns just changed the game as far as bringing Batman back to the core of what Batman is. And there's another panel I've always loved. Well, like I said, I've never been a big fan of Robin, but alongside the Dark Knight and Carrie Kelly's Robin, I always enjoyed that character. And so right here is where he kills the Joker. It's on this panel. I think it's the last page. There we go. So this is what Frank Miller. If you look at this lower panel here, it's what Frank Miller did, and Frank quietly took the cover and adapted it. I love these reprints when they do that. They take a major part of the panel that was in the book from 40 years ago, and then they make it a cover because it's this series had a bunch of iconic imagery in it, and then now we're seeing them on the cover. So, all right, guys, that is it. All this stuff that we covered. These sponsors. If you are in the Southern Nevada area and you want to go to what I think is going to be a great convention, come out to Amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there. I will be streaming from there. I will be touring from there. I will be giving it, but I think I'm going to do a little bit more than I usually do because I'm not an out of towner here. I'm gonna know a lot of the vendors that are going to be there. I want to talk to them, but I want to see if I can interview people while we're waiting. Some of these lines are going to be long, and I want to see if I can interview people on live stream if they'll give me permission to do that. But the people who put it on are great people, so I'm happy to support. All right, subscribe. I should be back on the air with a Sunday night, depending on schedule. I'd like to stay on schedule so that things don't overlap or pile up or we miss shit. So if everything goes as planned, tomorrow night, 10:30, we will see you. We needed to what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we sure did. All right, guys. Have a good. Some of you have a good Sunday morning. For those of you who have the last 25 minutes left, have a good rest of your Saturday. We will see you tomorrow night, 10:30 Pacific time for the Sunday night weekend wrap up. Have a nice day.
See you guys.